The president of Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh, was kicked out of his position and power was handed over to a national unity government. In the kingdom of Bahrain, a civil war uprising took place that forced the king to do some government changes. However, changes didn't stop the uprising. In Jordan, Morocco, Lebanon, Amman, Kuwait, Iraq, and Algeria, protesters forced the governments to make constitutional reforms and government changes as they're trying as some of these radical Muslims are trying to make changes in our universities, in the White House, and trying to cause people to believe it's a religion of peace, but it's not, because you got the good, we got the peaceful Muslims that are suffering very much of it, and I don't want to blame them. And then there are those who are causing the uprising and causing non-Muslims like myself as a Christian to suffer many things. Syria corrupted dictator president refused to leave his position, continued killing his own people. Consequently, a civil war started would keep burning for years. In the same way, a huge forest fire caused by just one little match, overwhelming fire of revolution in the Arab world was caused by an individual incident. A fire, however, will spread that much in the land is very dry. A region of the Arab world was exactly like a dry forest. In a very hot summer, it was dried out by a heat of corruption, dictatorship, and economical distress. The region was heated up by a misery, torture, and all the unjust trials against innocent people that were done by a corrupt dictator regimes. People were suffering from a lack of freedom and justice, as we're seeing it today. A lack of freedom and justice. And of course, Muslims, you want justice and freedom, as we all do, okay? Abuse of basic human rights by a secret service and a corrupt, vigorous police departments had heated up the moods. The Arab region of the world was so dry, heated, and ready to get burned that smallest spark could light up a huge fire. Wow. Eventually, millions of people went to the streets to demonstrate for bread, freedom, and social justice. The world was just watching and could hardly believe what they saw. One dictatorship after the other was overthrown. The situation in the Middle East was turned upside down within a few weeks, and it seems that the whole world was full of hope that finally peace and democracy will lead the way. Indeed, Egypt experienced a free democratic election for the first time in its history. When the revolution that had started in Tunisia reached Egypt in the beginning of 2011, I was watching the news almost day and night. My heart was dancing inside me when the old regime finally stepped back. I was so happy to witness the end of this corrupted dictator regime that I myself have been suffering under. However, at the same time, I have a strange feeling that this revolution, which had been started by a modern young generation, might be hitchhiked, and the country might be taken into an even deeper, darker kind of dictatorship and abuse of human rights than before. Before the revolution, the people suffered corrupt regimes and corrupt politics. Well, but now the people might fall under a dictatorship of the radical Islamic religious idolatry, which can violate the basic human rights even more. A Muslim Brotherhood takes advantage of the new opportunity. A few months later, my concerns become reality. The revolution had been stolen from the young generation who have started a revolution calling for bread, freedom, and social justice. The Egypt Muslim Brotherhood and Salafists won the parliamentarian election, and a new president who was a member of a Muslim Brotherhood came to power, the new parliament was on its way to implement Islamic law step by step. While the varieties radical groups come and go, Muslim Brotherhood is the most mature and well-organized, powerful Islamic radical movement in the modern history. It was established by the well-educated Egyptian Seqlep Hassan al-Banna in 1928 as a result of the collapse and falling Islamic Caliphate. A main purpose of the establishment of the Muslim Brotherhood was restored Islam in the Muslim world in every single area of life: politics, social affairs, economy, education, jurisdiction, and military. A brief review of their history will help you understand their strategy and precision today. In the first years after their establishment during the 1930s and 1940s, Muslim Brotherhood was very actively engaged in fighting against the Jews in Palestine. Later on, the focus turned to Egyptian internal affairs, and so in the 1950s they turned aggressively against all politicians whom they deemed too secular. They assassinated the Egyptian Prime Minister al-Qurashi in 1948 and later attempted to assassinate the President Gamal Abdel Nasser. Their very radical behavior triggered, however, very harsh reaction. President Nasser went after them with resoluteness. He killed many of them and put many of them in prison for many, many years. Muslim Brotherhood was officially banned for the following decades. Nevertheless, the organizers continued their work underground. When the powerful wind of change started to shake the whole Middle East during the Arab Spring and spread the hope that this revolution will bring true democracy and liberty to the Middle East, many signs very soon showed how well prepared the political ground was for Muslim Brotherhood to take power and how well prepared the organization was to jump in and use this unique opportunity. This was learned from their past and were well prepared for the better future. They changed their strategy and adapted to peaceful approach. Having a long-term goal in mind, they presented themselves as modern, peaceful, and in favor of democracy. This way, they were able to gain international support and win the democratic elections. Their strategy was quite successful and previously mentioned. They won both the majority in the parliament as well as the presidential elections. And their success, however, didn't last long. And this world soon provide justification for the new level of extremism we see in ISIS today. In the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, after just a few months, the democratically elected president Mohammed Morsi was kicked out of his position through a military coup under the leadership of Abdul Fattah al-Sisi, who shortly later became a new president. Many Egyptians considered this coup a great liberation, and al-Sisi was viewed for many as a messiah. Indeed, under al-Sisi, the country recovered economically and peace in the country was established. However, the way of this new government radically wiped out all the political opponents soon revealed that with this new president returned the same kind of dictatorship as before the revolution. Again, all political opponents were wiped out with extreme harshness. Egyptian had been considered the heart of the Middle East. Whatever happens, there has been a great influence on the rest of the Middle East. This is why the development Sorry, people. The development there is a crucial kind of a representative for the entire Middle East. For Muslim Brotherhood and all the other Islamic groups that have been dreaming to get rid of this kind of corrupt secular regimes, the Egyptian backslash was real drama. I strongly believe that the failure of the peaceful approach of Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt has greatly contributed to a fast spread of extreme violent group of ISIS. How ISIS gained power. ISIS can be seen as a grandchild of Muslim Brotherhood. In June 2014, the militant group declared as establishing a caliphate spanning across Iraq and Syria. I feel bad and sorry for Muslims and Christians and those who lived in those two regions, unfortunately. Wow. Where am I? Forgive me, folks. They could look to Egypt to say that gaining power through politics doesn't work. Peaceful change is not possible. The only way to extreme way, setting up a caliphate ruled by the strict Islamic law, has long been goal of many jihadists who complain that Islam has been taken out of a society and who demand for Islam to rule again. Really? Get it, guys? They want Islam to rule again in every area of life. They go to Islamic history and point to Muhammad's example of war, aggression, and terrorism, and to use these fears and the terror. You will read these stories in a detail in this book. So I'm going to read details in the story of this book. ISIS is operating under premise that they are living in the house of war, and therefore must use all means at their disposal to conquer territory for their cause. Concept of house of war and a house of peace has been discussed for centuries in Islamic law. And in understanding of it's essential to make sense of what is happening in the Islamic today. These terms do not come directly from the Quran or Hadith, but they are clearly scholars of Islam created these terms in order to describe the environment of a place where a Muslim may be living.